Fitness trends of 2024, wearable technology and apps.
Trying to tick all these boxes and you're not actually checking in to be like, is your body okay with this? Or are you causing more stress in your life trying to hit these numbers?
People don't make the lifestyle interventions that are essentially going to help them to keep that weight off long term.
I think sleep and stress are two things as well that is really underappreciated in health.
You are essentially taking something that you've not been tested for, you have no idea what's in it. It's just like any other drug, you're getting off someone who is not a practitioner. You need to be very, very careful with it.
Which font is like weight loss drug? That's all that people see, they don't look past it. And it's like tiny, tiny writing. Actually, you need the lifestyle. And that's the whole thing that kind of gets me.
Hey there, and welcome to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you're passionate about staying fit, healthy, and mentally sharp, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Matt Cooney, and each week we dive into the latest trends, expert insights, and actionable tips to help you take your fitness, nutrition, and mental well-being to the next level. Ready to level up your health and fitness? Let's jump in and get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Future Fitness Lifestyle. Roshan's just informed me this is the 11th episode, and we still don't know how to use a microphone between the four of us. Somehow you've been able to hear us for the last nearly 3 months, and we still can't figure it out. But we're here, and today we're going to be talking actually about something I'm really interested in, which is fitness trends of 2024. So obviously we're coming to the end of the year, and I was just thinking back and looking back on some of the different trends of the year, and I thought it'd be a good time to just have a general discussion about them. And first, disclaimer, we should all put a disclaimer out that this is all our own opinions, and so anybody,
We know nothing.
don't take offense. Yeah, if we say something that isn't right, we're backed up. When you put a disclaimer, everything now is just in my opinion. So anything you hear, just put in my opinion before.
Yeah, I feel like that was always like the thing back in the early Twitter days. You know, everyone who, let's say, was like, let's say, a celebrity or anything like that, or like a journalist or anything like that, they always had in their bio, these views are my own personal views, and in case like they'd get in trouble from like their work employee or something like that. And it was almost on like everyone's Twitter bio.
Yeah, I feel like, Ro, you should just edit in, that little disclaimer voice that comes up and be like, everything in this episode is for, what is it, for use? It's not for, it's not
You're not claiming to be
actual
experts?
advice. Please don't go and take it. Yeah.
It's like Troy McClure
So,
at the end of the Simpsons episodes.
First trend of 2024, we'll start with an easy one, and then we'll go into some more maybe interesting ones that we might have different views on. The first one is wearable technology and apps. So firstly, who here, I have an Oura ring. Tommy, Ro, do you guys have anything?
I used to have a
Apple Watch.
Fitbit. Yeah. The battery just kept dying on it and I was like, fuck this, so I got rid of it.
Tommy, what do you have? Is that a Garmin?
That's an Apple Watch. So basically, and I'm probably going to talk into like one or the other trends too, but like I only got this. My purpose for getting this was for running, and I thought like basically you didn't have to have internet on it for it to work. And I remember when I went out for my first run and I tried to listen to Spotify, and it was like nothing coming up. And what the hell? It was like, this is one of the main reasons why I bought this watch. Was like I thought I could listen to my music off it, but I did not know that you had to have your music downloaded onto your Spotify to actually listen to it on the watch, because Tommy was not very smart and I didn't really comprehend the fact that like how was my watch going to be able to like use data now and it doesn't have data. And obviously, so for me that was kind of like the biggest, let's say, driving force of me getting this was when I started running. Otherwise I wouldn't have got one. I know you have an Oura ring, Colleen. It's something obviously I've kind of thought about, but I don't really, I suppose, follow metrics in that myself. Something, I'd be interested in. I just don't think I've gone that far to actually do it. I don't wear this at night time. I go to bed, and I presume that it can track your sleep and all that.
Mm.
For me, that would just I wouldn't like the feeling of wearing this at night time. I would definitely be interested in the whole metrics around sleep and that. I think that's probably why I'd much prefer like an Oura ring to wear one of these at night time, and I'm sure you can say more into that. But the reason I bought this was because I started running. Usually when you start something, it costs you a lot of money.
Yeah. That's it. Running sounds like free, really, because like you just see runners and run, but there's a lot of accessories for running that you find out, and then it becomes nearly like this weird addiction thing for a lot of people as well. You know, when you start something, it's like I have to get all this
Yeah.
stuff. I need new clothes. I need new runners, and it's like you literally haven't even taken a step yet, and you're like, yeah, maybe I get this new watch for it as well. That's how they get you.
That's how marketing
But
works.
that's where, yeah, I've had this Oura ring. I got it. Literally, this is a new one. When did I get it? Black Friday. Got hooked in. I'm pretty sure the old one. I'm sure Aura have done this to me on purpose. That the battery just went so bad on the Oura ring. It was only getting one night out of it for the
Wow.
last like year. So I had to charge it every single day. And I was like, didn't want to buy it again because I'm like, I feel like they're trying to make me upgrade by just ruining my battery or something. But then I finally got it. Literally, yeah, on Black Friday, and now I'm tied into a membership with it as well. First, when I bought it first, it was just like a one-off. Eve literally just bought a Whoop yesterday, and I'm laughing because her connection's gone. Because I was just about to ask her about it, but she's been thinking about Whoops and either a Whoop or an Oura ring for years, but never done it. And I feel like she's going to get addicted to it now soon
100%. 100%.
because of all the metrics.
Yeah.
And that's what. Sorry, Ro, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying 100% on that. She'll definitely get addicted to. That's kind of the reason why I had the Apple Watch, the same as Tommy, but the same thing happened to me with like you, Matt. It didn't even last a day, so you needed to charge it every day, and I was like, I don't even have it on me during the time that I need to track it. So it was just a pain in that regard. But I think I would like to, like what Tommy was saying, I think I would like to track my metrics and have a look at. I think sleep is probably the most interesting thing for me that I would like to track. But then again, in saying that, if I had something like that, I could get a bit too obsessed with trying to hit special targets.
Do you see, that's one of the main reasons why I probably feel like I don't want to get something like that, is because it's just another thing for me to be looking at on like a daily basis, when really I'm trying to like remove a lot of the, let's say, the
Labeling.
Yeah, the technology side of things away from my life. And like I would love that. I love numbers. I'm a real statistic person. I love all that. But I think, like you said, Ro, I would get too involved in it. Like this watch, like I literally haven't even gone on to half the apps on it. Literally, I've only been using like Strava. I put Frodo's picture on it, and like I Spotify. It's probably like the only 3 apps I've probably gone on to this. But definitely, I would be very interested in that. It's like always wanting to be a professional sports athlete. I don't have to be wearing all the technology, not have to look at it. Someone just give me all the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just get that rundown of like, okay, you need to do X, Y, Z. I think that's actually an issue with it. Eva, you here? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here now. I got cut off, but I'm back in.
Yeah. I was just saying, you literally just bought your first Whoop. Like yesterday was your first day wearing it.
Yeah, I got it like 2
And
days ago. So
it's
I've only been wearing it 2 days. But yeah, I think you need to be wearing it like a week or a couple of days before it starts to get all the trends and statistics. But yeah, no, I'm just using it. I really just got it for monitoring kind of my sleep, and just like I don't really know too much about it yet because I haven't really looked at it properly. But I'll know like a bit more after a couple of days.
me and Ro were saying while you were off that you're going to be obsessed with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just be obsessed with like optimizing my sleep, I think.
Yeah. But I think they're cool in that sense. I think they're cool in that sense to actually be able to, like, even to have them once and get yourself to the high metrics to just know how that feels and be like, okay, this is the feeling. This is what it fucking feels like to be, ticking all the boxes. And then just knowing that feeling. I'd also like to use it because I've heard a few people, and this isn't even like fitness, but like meditating, because you relax so much and you open your heart. Like I know a girl who has I think it's the Oura ring, but it can show that like when her heart rate and how it's like opening up during meditation sessions and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. That's what I'd like to tap into.
That's why we went to the sauna last night. Eve like wanted to wear it inside the sauna because she wanted to track her heart rate, like to see what happens. And I'm like, you can't. Well, maybe you can, but I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I presume it's
Yeah, it
like
says
100-degree
not
heat
to wear
and
them
this
in
band.
saunas, but I saw a man wearing it in sauna, so I was like, I don't know, should I or should I not?
No.
Yeah. And Ro, that's actually, it's funny because I got the Aura. Tommy, you kind of said it as well. And what I'll do with all these trends is I want to look, me being logical, I think like everything has positives and negatives. So I want to look at both sides. But that's for me. I only really use it for sleep and stress. And it's funny how, Ro, you said it. It's like, I think it was once since I've been using it, maybe 5 years, I got like 99 on my readiness. Like, oh, I was like, holy crap, that's once in 5 years. But like, you see when it's consistently like up high, like you said, it's like the result of like ticking all the boxes,
Good
And I think
routines.
that's probably one of the positives of these wearable technologies and apps is like awareness. It creates a high level of awareness for people, and especially even around their health. I think sleep and stress are two things as well that is really underappreciated in health, and they're only going to become more of a trend, say, is people getting into this. Like even I've only noticed the last couple of years, there's people who are sleep coaches now, and there's actually stress coaches as well. So you get awareness of your sleep and stress. Your activity levels is another big one, and they're just health conscious. And you can also, in fairness for them, they are kind of affordable for what they are. And like, if you look at like 10, 20 years ago, the data that this thing on my finger can give us now is like pretty world class, And I'm just an average person. Basically anybody can wear this if they save up a little bit of money, versus like I'd imagine 20 years ago, something like this would have been rare and cost you an absolute fortune.
Yeah, and I think you might know more into this, and it's actually probably interesting. I have an Apple Watch, you have a Whoop, and you have the Aurora ring. Just in terms of like pricing and that wise, I think, Eve, am I correct that you can basically, or is it, because I know Joe was looking to get one, that you can get a Whoop watch for like, is it €1 or something, and you just pay a monthly membership and you give it back if you don't use it? Am I wrong in that, saying that?
I think it's a
I
membership, yeah.
I think they do this thing where they give you a free month, and if you don't like it, you can return it.
All
But
right.
I think at the minute now it's €200, but that's for a full
Okay.
year subscription. They did have something like that before, but they've kind of changed it again now, I think.
Yeah, I think it was you got the free watch and then it was like a subscription of like 10 something a month.
Yeah.
But I'd say maybe people probably weren't locking into a longer subscription on them.
And how much are the Aurora rings? And in that, is there like a difference? Is there like a variety of Aurora rings, or is it just like one ring
I think there's a few.
that you can use?
Yeah, they all do the
There's a
exact
few
same
different
thing, but
types.
depending
Like
on
gold,
if you want
silver.
like platinum gold or silver or diamonds, shit like that.
Diamonds.
And
Yeah,
just
you
a
can
side
actually
note,
get
that
ones with.
membership stuff, that membership is more of a like business model than anything else. It's like they realized instead of selling them one individually and you just get one sale, they can actually create a membership where you pay a little bit monthly. Um, and it creates, because it's like that product that once you start using it as well, not that you get addicted, but it's like, for what, like this is like €6 a month. I would probably never ever cancel this, even if I'm not using it. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's still giving me the good metric. It's good value really for it, And it's like once they get you, you're there for life basically.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, when you mentioned like the €6, it's like those little subscriptions, that you probably don't see.
It's like a coffee a
Maybe that
week, like,
often. Yeah, that you're probably like, I'm not going to cancel that. I'm just going to keep it, and I'll probably go back to it at some stage. I think, as Cooney, you mentioned, about the Aurora, and that you had the free membership, but now that you got a new one, you have to get membership. I feel like, because in another similar situation, I feel very lucky, with my fitness pal, because we had it like so many years ago that you didn't have to pay for any of the add-ons in that. And I know now, if you downloaded it, I know like in the last year, if you downloaded that, you weren't able to scan. You weren't able to scan food. You had to pay a certain membership. Yeah, you had to do it manually. Yeah, but if you had like the older membership, you were still allowed to use the free method. So my advice, what I'm trying to say, is maybe that if there's a new app, get in on it straight away before they start bumping up the prices.
Yeah, you want to be early adopters to these things.
Yeah.
It's so on the flip side of the wearable technology, some of the cons that I think that you guys kind of mentioned it, is like, one, people getting too reliant on them versus actually knowing your own body. And this is a big thing a lot of the time, is like, if you see this score of like, oh, I'm not recovered today, this thing's telling me I'm not recovered, you just automatically think that. You're like, oh, I shouldn't work today, or I need to, go into a hyperbolic chamber to recover, when realistically you might actually feel fine. So you're being placeboed, or noceboed, is it, into thinking that. So it's like, they shouldn't be used alone. It should be like in combination with how you actually feel. And that's my first point. Second one is, people often don't really understand them. So they think they don't really know how to read the data or what they're looking for. And then they can actually make these like decisions based off things like that don't really make sense for them. And this is why the whole thing with data is like you said, Tommy, more data is not always better.
Mm.
And even for myself, I go through periods of the year where I don't wear the ring, or I just leave it dead, because it doesn't really, I don't need it. Like I don't really care for it. And then other times I will wear it. And it's probably one of the benefits is kind of how easy it is to use. I literally just stick the thing on. But it's definitely something I'm aware of, that I don't want. I want to be able to kind of like live a healthy lifestyle with zero data, just by knowing how to live, if that makes sense. So it's everything, I suppose, that's a positive, but also has negatives or cons, would you say? Not negatives.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
having that self-awareness.
Yeah, definitely. Being able to like check, and I think that's why they'd be great to have for you to get to the optimal in all of them, and then actually like realize how it feels in your body, to be like, this is how I feel when I have really good sleep, and this is how I feel when I'm managing my stress. Okay, cool. Let's try and know how this feels in my body and stay here. Whereas with the trackers, I remember when they first came out and they were like tracking steps, people got so obsessed with their steps that, like, if they didn't have their Fitbit, they were like, fuck, I couldn't record my steps today. I might as well have done no steps. I don't have record, or they'd be looking at it and be like, oh, I hit 10K. Now I can, go out and eat out or have a few drinks.
Yeah.
It was all
count.
down to the numbers on their little watch.
Yeah, I've had people say to me that they were out on a walk and their Fitbit went dead, so like they just went home because the steps weren't being counted, so there's no point doing them. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's people getting too addicted to the technology.
Yeah, and then taking it, even that's where not understanding. Sometimes people would be like, I burned this many calories today, but it's like, or I did this many steps, and it's like, it's not accurate either, like there's actually studies on like how wildly inaccurate some trackable devices are. Like, they're getting better in the Oura and the Whoop, but some of them are really off. And that's where often I've had so many people come to me and be like, oh, should I be doing X, Y, and Z because of this thing? Said it. And I'm like, no, don't worry about any of those things. And like, even for me with the Oura, like, Tommy, you said I don't use half of the stuff, I'm like, sleep, stress, that's really it. Activity, maybe. Or resting heart rate is the other thing that I kind of look at. And Ro, you made a really good point, is like using them to like, get your sleep really good. And then you go, okay, this is the routine. I know the routine I need to be in or do to sleep well with my like daily lifestyle, my habits, my nighttime routine, and then be like that. I think that's really good. So then it's not like, oh, I need to get my Oura up to 99. It's more like, I know if I want to sleep well, I need to do these habits.
Yeah. To be honest, I think as well, when it comes to like calorie burn and all of that on the fitness trackers, I would just 100% disregard all of that, because it's so inaccurate, and it's also not necessary. And like you'd see that people doing a workout, I burned 600 calories and someone else did 300, and thinking, oh, because I've burned 600, that's a more effective or a better workout. But it's not the case at all. Like, burning calories is like, it's not necessary, and especially when it comes to things like building muscle or that. And I think a lot of people get too caught up with the calorie burn on these kind of trackers and stuff.
Yeah, the technology is just not there for that yet. But
No.
I definitely think in a couple of years it will be, but but like, not now. So yeah, I wouldn't.
Then everybody's screwed when you actually see how many calories you're consuming.
Yeah.
Even like isn't it BMI? That whatever that metric was, your BMI, like for a lot of people, even for myself, if I actually weighed myself, I would be obese or classified in that thing because it's completely off. You know, and so many people got so stuck on that and were like, oh my God, I'm overweight or I'm obese. And it's like, no, it's not a right measurement at all. And that's, I think, what a lot of apps went off as well for burning calories and stuff.
The BMI index definitely has a lot of limitations, but like it's relevant for some people. But like you said there, I think like it'll say that a rugby player is obese, or, you know, if you have any bit of muscle at all, you'd be classified in that obese range, even though you have all your health markers will be good and you'd actually have a pretty, you know, lean body composition.
Yeah. BMI is muscle isn't included in BMI.
Yeah.
It's more like, it's not that BMI is not actually applicable at all.
Yeah, it's a good kind of
like on a
guideline.
global scale. It's a guideline on a global, but like for an average person that actually works out, it's not applicable, you know. And that's the whole thing, is like understanding that as well. Because I've had people come to me and be like, oh, my BMI is that. And I'm like, you're like a tank, you know? I'm like, you squat like 100 kilos. And I'm like, you don't have to worry about your BMI, you know? And your resting heart rate is like professional athlete. You're good. So I want to sum this one up. So is wearable technology, is it a positive, neutral, negative? What do you think?
I would
Positive
say
in moderation.
Yeah, in moderation, but it has its limitations with, like, you know, people getting overly obsessed or overly reliant on it. I think it's good to just be able to use the data, but not have that as like your only kind of be all and end all. Like,
I feel it's a positive in a sense that if it's something that is going to get you to do something, make a positive change in your life, go for it. But on that as well, don't be reliant on it. Don't feel like that you need to have it to make a change in your life. As we kind of laughed and joked about at the beginning, Matt, you know, about the running, that, you know, people have this perception, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. They get so overwhelmed in all the things they need to do, and actually what you really need is just take the action, take the first step, just go and do whatever you need to do. So there's definitely positives in it. I think it's just being careful too, like asking yourself, why are you getting it? You know, am I just being influenced? Am I just being influenced by marketing people? What is the actual reason here? Am I actually buying this? And I think try and just be comfortable within that decision. We all kind of said, just don't be reliant on it.
Yeah.
And
so I think it's a net positive.
Net positive, but always come back to how you're feeling. Because I think even like what you were saying there, Tommy, it's that everyone thinks I need to be hitting 10,000 steps. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that. But you're not. You're just trying to tick all these boxes, and you're not actually checking in to be like, is your body okay with this, or are you causing more stress in your life trying to hit these numbers? You know. So I think it's always coming back to checking in, because everyone's individual and everyone's going to react differently to different things.
Yeah, and I think as well, for as far as trends go, it's kind of here to stay. It's only going to be.
Definitely.
It's not a thing of in 2 years it's only going to develop even further. And that's, I think, speaking of developments, that's our next trend that I want to ask you about, Tommy, which is essentially Ozempic, weight loss drugs, GLP-1 agonists, I think they're called. There's a lot of 2024. They've actually been around for years, but Ozempic, I think, brought a big new wave of it. And I know we've had conversations about this, Tommy, and we both have read the book, I'm sure, by you and Harry. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on it?
Thoughts? I feel like we probably need 2 podcasts to go through Ozempic.
I was going to say as well, there's probably going to be a time limit on.
Yeah, my thoughts, I'll give you a quick look because it's actually really interesting. Basically, there was actually a show on Monday night. I didn't see it now. It was just Joe's dad, and actually someone said it to me as well yesterday. It was
Sean Kelly told me about this on RT.
Yeah, basically Primetime investigated not just Ozempic, but all kind of those weight loss and drugs in Ireland and
black market.
Exactly. Yeah, but a few people have said it to me. My thoughts on it. You're asking me this question. Someone literally asked me it last night. My thoughts on it are: it's here right now within the world. It's not going anywhere. It has benefits. It 100% has benefits, and I feel like my answer is kind of going to tie in like with the technology in that if you're an obese person, if you're someone who is like 20 stone, 25 stone, 30 stone, and your only option in life is to take this drug that is going to help you survive and live, then by all means, I am not going to say to that person, you do not deserve to take this drug. Take it. It does essentially work in ways. It is not for everyone, of course. But the problem now is, and the problem with human beings is that it's just being overconsumed by people who feel like they need it or feel like that they want to take it, that don't actually need it, that aren't capable or aren't willing to
do the work,
put in lifestyle changes that will allow them to lose weight rather than having to rely on this drug that essentially is definitely becoming a big factor in the way that we're living these in life right now. And it is scary. Like I said, I have so much to say on this. But what I would just say it on that is that you have to be mindful of it. The people I've spoken to about it around just in friend groups, and I've heard people on it, I've heard people talk to me about it. Be careful. You know, some of the people I've spoken to are getting it. They're not getting it from doctors. They're getting it from people who are buying it off these markets and that. You are essentially taking something that you've not been tested for. You have no idea what's in it. It's just like any other drug. You're getting it off someone who is not a practitioner. You need to be very careful with it. You also need to know the risks that come with it. Mm-hmm. Literally, I was speaking to an individual who essentially told me their doctor prescribed it for them and didn't give them any of the risks that come with it. That's dangerous, so it is. So you need to be educated on it. If it's something that you're thinking about doing, you need to really look into it. You need to know and understand what it is, what it's going to do to you, and the effects of it. And I'm sure there's definitely going to be a lot more podcasts on it. I know Johan has done one with Stephen. It's like nearly 3 hours long. Mm-hmm. His book is amazing. It goes into so much detail about it. I won't speak too much into it because I already have. But yeah, my own personal opinion on it saddens me that we live in a world right now that this drug is needed for weight loss, because it was originally created for people with diabetes, not for weight loss. So yeah, it's sad that we are living in a world right now where there are so many people who are probably going to become reliant on this, and it kind of tells us a lot about where society is and what we're doing really to look after each other.
This is going to be random, but Rowan, Eve, is Tommy's half his face showing? Or is it like...
No, full face.
No,
full
okay.
face.
Okay, that's good. Because I was like when I was looking at you, Tommy, I'm like, only half your head is on the screen. I was like, do you know that film is a face off? Where it's like you can only see half his face. I'm like, this is weird. But back to Ozempic, yeah, I think the reality is, and like it works. That's the first thing, is like we know it actually works. There's a lot of things that have been touted, like fat burners, different things over the past. Like Ozempic is, well, it works. And I think the way it works is actually interesting for people because essentially it just blunts your appetite, so you eat less. And there's a load of people out here who are still like, calories don't matter. It's all about like insulin is making people fat. Obesity is caused because of all these things. We can say pretty certainly now people are just, when they take that drug, they eat less and they lose weight. It's not insulin. It's not the other things that are contributing, it's like energy. That calorie deficit is a real thing, and essentially that's all. Like Ozempic is just blunting people's appetite, so they're just not eating, and they don't have the urge or desire to consume energy. And that's, I think, that if we can get out of it, that kind of thing, like clear up that a bit more, that would be good. But the big thing, and you mentioned like diet and lifestyle changes, Tommy, and I find it with any of these things, not just Ozempic, like anything that's touted as like the one solution, like the Hail Mary, they forget like underneath all these, usually in very small writing, is like needs to be taken in conjunction with diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the font, huge font, is like weight loss drug. That's all that people see. They don't look past it, and it's like tiny writing. Actually, you need the lifestyle, and that's the whole thing that kind of gets me with it is like, yes, it's going to work, but people only see that first step. It's like, take this drug, lose weight. But it's like, the lifestyle needs to change. The person who is 25 stone, no matter what happened in their life to get there, to live at a 15 stone body or wherever you want, you don't do the same thing. You don't eat the same, move the same, live the same, think the same. And it's like, I think they're necessary for, not necessary, but they're maybe because like you said, there's a lot of risk factors with it. When people get to a certain point, they're needed to help them get back. Like it's a net positive because being obese and that size has such huge risk factors on death, on them staying alive, that just doing anything we can to get them down to a more lower body weight is going to be the best thing for their health. But then it's the issue of where's the line, as in like who needs to take these. And supposedly even during COVID there was this huge thing in Hollywood as well of like all Hollywood actors and
They
that
were all
like
at
being
parties.
all on those. Yeah, was this not? Because I think it was actually Johanna's podcast with Stephen. He was on about that people were just like normal people, and that's I think the whole black market thing. They weren't obviously getting prescribed it, but everybody was taking it. And you know, during COVID, people didn't see each other for like a long time, and then like everybody was just at these parties like so skinny, which is obviously yeah, it's like anything like you said, Tommy, it's designed for diabetes first. It's not designed really for Hollywood actors who are not like severely obese. Yeah, it's definitely here to stay, and I think there will have to be a lot more understanding, education around it, and regulation. I don't know regulations, but
do
yeah,
we?
it's interesting.
Has there been studies on like the long-term effects? Because I don't even know how long this Ozempic has. I know obviously it's been the last year or so in terms of weight loss, but how long has this drug been in the world to know the long-term effects? Because that's the thing. People
See,
start. Go on.
that's actually the thing. Like,
Nobody knows.
it's that's it. You can't do long-term studies with something that has just been released. Like you're thinking long-term wise, like to really know the side effects of a drug, you're really going to have to see it over a lifetime span of a human being. And it's simply only been out the last couple of years they can only really do studies on short-term effects. So like anything to me like that, when I hear that, is like I don't understand. For me, I find it very hard to understand why people would take something that is essentially very, very new. I feel like you're almost like being a bit of a guinea pig with this new thing. It's like taking a chance with your life. So yeah, it's a great question to know, Roisin, but it simply just has not been around long enough. And something that really surprised me was in like the first couple of pages of the book, because I actually only thought it was Ozempic. I only thought before I read the book that there was only one drug. It was Ozempic. There was actually like 85 at the time that he wrote the book of these weight loss drugs, but there's only really like 3 really, really big ones. And the biggest company in the world that makes them is in Denmark. He was already saying that it's after like having such a huge effect on the market price of the food market in America, because the amount of people who are on it are essentially not eating food. They're not eating especially junk food. And that in itself has taken off a huge market capital of these big food industries. So the food industry is coming down and the pharmaceutical industry is going up. And I remember saying that to you before, Matt, I find that very interesting that these 2 big powerhouses in America are probably going to be going head to head on how one has really affected the other one.
And I was going to say as well, Tommy, that was my thing. Next point was that obviously Ozempic is like the thing now, but there's already other ones coming which are more powerful, work better, and have less side effects. I think like it's literally I forget the name now because my head is blank, but it's literally here. It's basically here. It already is. It's like the next year. There's a more powerful version coming, and you said it as well. And I think that's the interesting thing is like it's not just it's on so many levels. This is going to affect things, and it's like wondering where the actual thought process behind it comes from. Is it just like oh, is it like we're trying to help obesity, or are we trying to help people, or is it actually trying to make money, or is it like there's so much
That's
other
a whole other
things at
podcast
play.
that we should
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and
we
I
and
don't
I
that we
think
think
we should.
even, but that's the other thing isn't now in America. It's like obesity is actually going down for the first time in like God knows a very long time. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's
think
interesting.
the thing
That's all
that
I can say.
annoys me is that like it's bringing us out of our bodies. It's stopping our bodies from working the way they should be working. And I think then even like I assume it's going to cause such bad relationships with food. I haven't looked too much into it, but I know it stops you from feeling hunger, but it also changes the taste of food. And like food is such a pleasure in life, and it shouldn't be this thing that like we have such a negative relationship with. I think that's a huge thing, but we should be working on bettering our relationship with food and having more knowledge around it rather than this idea of not eating, and not having that pleasure in life. And then I agree with you and both of you saying that if it is for somebody who is obese and is trying to lose weight, the reason that person is obese is from shit that happened in their childhood, emotional stuff, all of this, that should be dealt with in the process of being on this drug. So that when they do come off it, if they do come off it, they're not they're dealing with the issues, the underlying issues.
And that's where you were saying, bro, about the side effects, about knowing it. It's like, who knows about like the relationship with food? Even on that side of things, it's like I don't even know how you quantify that or how you could even find that out. Bar, I don't know, asking a million people what the relationship with food is
Yeah.
now before taking it to now. It's a whole
But it kind of
different world.
reminds me as well as, remember you told me before that something like people that win the lotto eventually end up going broke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, if you take Ozempic, you'll lose like weight if you're obese, but you're going to regain that weight if you come off the drug, unless you're making the lifestyle interventions that need to be made. So I definitely think like, people need more when they are getting obviously prescribed Ozempic. They need to be getting the lifestyle interventions alongside that and being taught how to, live a healthy lifestyle and keep the weight off. Because if people are just getting the drug blindly, they'll take it, they'll get the results, and as soon as they come off it, they'll just regain all the weight. And then not only have they regained all the weight, but they're probably going to be left with a lot of long-term side effects.
Yeah, but it's like even
Eve, honestly, that's like probably one of the most important points that probably people who are listening to this can take away from it, is that almost 100% of the people that they tested that came off Ozempic, they all put the weight back on. So essentially, this drug that people are deciding to take, if you're deciding to take it, it is a lifelong drug because of the things that you mentioned. People don't make the lifestyle interventions that are essentially going to help them to keep that weight off long term. Big one that Roshi mentioned is the psychological issues that has caused them in childhood, whatever, even in adulthood, to take them down this path of where they've essentially used food to cover up their own traumas. Like one of the you might know the name, Vicuna, I've forgotten the name, the hormone, but it essentially like it's GP something that our gut produces, essentially to tell us that that's it, yeah. To essentially tell us it's a hormone release to eventually tell you that, hey, you're full, stop eating. And what is the whole process of food? Food is to fill you up, to give you energy. If you look at food in today's society, and Eve, you can talk a lot more about into this, a lot of the food that's made available for us today doesn't that it's not their number one goal is to make us feel good or to fill us up. It's to make us eat more, and that is essentially what the drug does. It just what's that word? It like implements or it basically does the exact same thing as what that hormone does, and it just essentially tells you to stop eating. But if you come off that drug, essentially your body is not making or producing this hormone anymore. So you're going to have more of an impulse to eat because you essentially don't have this mechanism now inside you that has actually prevented you from eating. And it's definitely something that people need to be very aware of, is that you may see someone who you've known that maybe has been overweight, and you're like, oh my god, you lost so much weight, how did you do it? And you're like, I took this drug. All you see is that person telling you this was the reason why I've lost all this weight. You don't see the implications. you don't ask too much more information about it, because in your mind, you're like, oh my God, found a solution. I need this. And again, there definitely needs to be so much more talked about it, and just so much more information out there on it. And the last thing I will say on it as well is that a dangerous thing about it is that they're actually talking about a lot of young people who have eating disorders are actually starting to use this drug, because it essentially allows them to not eat at all. Someone who's already gone through a very difficult time with an eating disorder, how dangerous is it for them to be able to get this drug, which is going to have such a huge, severe negative impact on their life? And so, yeah, it's scary enough to talk about, so it is.
That's what I was even saying about your body. Like, our bodies are able to produce and are able to work like on their own. They know what to do. And if you're taking a drug that's stopping your body from craving food that it needs for energy, like you said, Matt said it multiple times, like, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. And you're training your body then to not function the way it's supposed to function, because you're taking a synthetic drug. And if you do come off it, then your body's losing its ability to do what it does best, which is keep you alive, which I think is a huge thing on it. And even what Eve was saying there, I think we've all said that, like, you can go and do like an 8-week training program with a coach that's just focusing on results. You lose the weight, but you gain it again because you're not doing, we all know now that it's so much more than just physical weight loss. You have to work with your mental fitness and everything to combine it to get to a lifestyle of living this way.
And it's, yeah, to come around a few of them points, it is actually, the more we talk about it, I'm like, yeah, it's quite scary. Because even Eve, what you were talking about was, yeah, 70% of people who win the lotto essentially go broke. And basically because overnight they become millionaires and they obviously don't know how to handle money, that level of money. And compared to someone who works in a job or builds a business to become a millionaire, they go through the process of the steps to get there. So it's like what we talk about is the process, even with like transforming your body, your mind. Again, you have to go through the steps, learn the lessons and experiences, so that when you get there, you know how to handle it. And essentially, that's what happens: is they just skip everything, and then they don't know how to actually manage their money. Then they end up going broke. And it's kind of just similar to what you said, Eve. Like, same thing. A lot of people are losing the weight then without going through the process, learning the lessons, the steps that they need to keep it off. And then another big thing that you guys all mentioned is like with obesity, it's like it's such a multifactorial thing. It's not just a food thing. It's like, I always remember a story. John DeMartini is you probably know him, Tommy. He's a big mindset kind of guy, really old guy, I'm sure now, he's around the years, but he was telling a story of one of his clients who ended up losing like 70 pounds, and he's like, never give her nutrition advice, whatever, she could never lose weight her whole life. And when they actually went through it, he basically that weight as a protective mechanism for herself, so that because she was sexually abused when she was young, so it was like in order for her to feel safe, she knew if she was this big weight that people wouldn't kind of go near her, essentially. And then when he was able to, go in and start to rewire those things, she literally lost 70 pounds or something, like without not trying, but she tried all the diets. So that's just one example that I always remember the first time him telling that story. I was like, whoa, and then same thing that I mentioned with like sexual abuse. It's like, I can't remember the stat, but a large portion of people who are obese have been sexually abused or have suffered some abuse. So again, there's like a lot of trauma and so many different factors that go into essentially an obesogenic environment and gaining weight. Yeah.
What he created, Matt, was he created the ACE study. So essentially it's adverse childhood experiences. He basically came up with all these different types of experiences that maybe a child might have went through in their childhood that will have a significant impact on the psychological and emotional makeup of a human being. So like if your parents are divorced and you've grown up in like an abusive household, an alcoholic household, there's multiple different layers to it, but essentially that was the story that he came up with. And like to this day, it's so commonly used within the therapeutic world because essentially there's a large portion of society that has actually been affected by one of the criteria that is in that study. And like you were saying, a lot of people aren't aware of that. They aren't aware of the deep-rooted emotions that is driving these decisions that they're making to essentially cope with the trauma that they're walking around and living with. And it's
yeah, and even on that, I've spoken to and listened to a lot of women that have essentially, they put on weight as a form of protection, because they're like, oh, if I'm bigger, then I'm not getting as much attention and I feel safer because of something that happened to them in their past. And that's the thing, like there's so much more behind weight gain and weight than just food and no exercise.
Yeah. It's a big one. We could go, and that's why I'm gonna go. We're gonna go into the next one because I'm wary of time, and also we probably need 2 podcasts for these trends. Actually, next one we'll go with more of a lighter topic because yeah, we're going to go down some deep rooted childhood trauma issues there, and instead I'm going to bring it back out to Hyrox. Is the one, when I thought of fitness trends in 2024, that was like the number one thing that came to my mind was Hyrox. Firstly, everyone knows what Hyrox is, or do you?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
I do.
Like a lighter version of go on.
Of what you're gonna say?
CrossFit, no?
That's what I would say.
That's the way I was gonna explain it. I was like, hopefully she says CrossFit. So yeah, Hyrox has obviously exploded the last year. I'm sure it's only around not much longer than a year. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's essentially like, yeah, it's a CrossFit. The way I'd explain it, it's like CrossFit with the difficult things taken out, like the Olympic lifting. It's more just endurance
Functional
based.
fitness.
So it's a lot of mixture of like running and like conditioning. So think of like pushing and pulling sleds, burpees, medicine ball throws,
Farmers.
wall balls they're called, farmers
And you're doing like a
walks,
kilometer
walking
run in
lunges.
between.
Yeah, and like I'm pretty sure they've only really figured out the sport. It's now essentially a sport this year, because before it used to be like kind of randomized, whereas now it's like all the events, it's one thing that you're doing and you're doing it for time. So it's interesting to me. It's like the business model is it's basically has copied CrossFit, and I think it's very smart because it's taken all the good things from CrossFit and it's kind of taken the negatives or the barriers and taken them away. And it's nearly like a mixture of, if you think of CrossFit minus like the really hard Olympic lifting and weights, think of circuit training, but a bit harder, more intense. Then it attracts everyone, really can do it at different levels. So you could be like a high level athlete and do it. You can be a normal Joe Soap and do it, which is very good. And it's quite easy to learn.
Yeah, you don't need any major
It has that
skills.
community aspect. Yeah, community aspect is probably easy enough to set up in terms of low cost for a gym compared to like a commercial gym. A really good community aspect. There's a competitive side to it,
Yeah,
which
the
I
competitive
think
side.
really attracts a lot of those type A type people who played sport when they were younger, or maybe people who were in the gym who just have kind of got bored of doing the gym thing and want something new. I think a lot of runners, people who got into running, especially in COVID, it's like a nice transition, because I don't know, well, Tommy, you're going to do another marathon, but I feel like running can be a bit boring eventually. So it's like a lot of people started running that would probably transfer now. They're like, oh yeah, I could go at this thing. So it has a lot going for it, I think, and it's very. Even I looked last year, I think it was around February or March, and I was like, oh, maybe I look at some of the events like later in the year, all sold out for the whole year. I was like, what? Like all across the world was sold out for like 9 months ahead. I was like, what is going on here with this sport that didn't exist a year ago? So yeah, they've definitely, whoever's behind it, they know what they're doing. Any thoughts? Nobody here has done Hyrox, have they?
No.
We did a Hyrox style class.
Yeah.
It would be kind of, it wasn't like exact Hyrox, but it was definitely a Hyrox style class. I think it was in Thailand or Bali maybe. But yeah, I really loved it. Thought it was great.
Yeah.
And would love to do an event I'd love to kind of train for an event. I'd love to get like a group of people together and do it just for like something new, a bit of a challenge, and obviously the competitive side of it as well. And I think just, you know, trying something out new, working towards a new goal, and obviously being able to get a team of people together, I think it would be cool to run.
Yeah, for me, I think it was actually Luca Matney. I think I first seen it on his Instagram and wasn't quite sure what it was. And for me, like when I see it, to me it looks fun, and that's something that definitely intrigued me. Is the whole teamwork about doing it with other people, and because kind of what you mentioned, Cooney, was interesting listening to you about the business model, and that I was like, you were kind of speaking a little bit about me. You know, I'd love to get into something competitive, but also doing it with a team. You know, I think that really draws my attention, and it looks fun. Obviously, it's very challenging. I know that it's not easy. God,
Fun in a
I'm
sick
not saying
way.
that at all. I'm definitely not saying that at all. But it does look a hell of a lot of fun at just doing that type of physical output with another individual. Can you only do it with one person, or can you do it as a group or as a team?
You can
What
do
I've
it
seen
a
on
solo
YouTube,
or
you
as
can only do it
a
as a
duo.
person.
One or two.
Yeah, there's only singles and doubles, I think.
Right.
But then you can have multiple doubles from the one kind of
Right.
club or something, you know.
Okay.
And you can do it
Yeah.
mixed as well. I'm sure there's male, female.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like
And-
the idea of it being like something different and high intensity and fun with other people. Because even as you were talking there, I'm like, you like a switch up every now and then, you know, from doing the gym or from
Yeah.
running or something, and having that, and it would be that, even though it's very challenging, but you know that feeling when it's kind of intense and you're just like, you're bigging each other up and you're trying to get through it, and that's just extra energy on top of it all. So I'm getting excited even just thinking about that.
Yeah, and
I'm
I
the
think
same. Honestly, I'm like Cooney. Book it in
Sign it
next
up.
year. When are we going? What's going on? Like, in terms of like fitness trends and that, again, I bring it back to the whole thing. It's definitely a positive to society because it's getting more people moving. It's getting more people engaged with other people. People are going to build confidence within themselves. Anything that is going to create an environment where there's a lot of those factors that are essentially needed to make you feel good. It's a huge positive influence in society. And add it all in on top of that, it's competitive.
Yeah, and it doesn't segregate anybody. It doesn't knock anybody out. Like CrossFit
Yeah.
knocks a lot of people out, you know. Whereas this is a community where, like you said, Matt, anybody can kind of join, anybody can get involved.
yeah, it's like beginner level, and then they have like elite levels, so like anybody can take part in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a positive one.
Yeah, I was trying to think of kind of not negatives, but like cons.
There's no negatives really.
There is one side of me that would have been like me years ago would have looked at like because the science of it and that and been like it's not like optimal type of training, you know, or a lot of it's not like specific for whatever. But now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, like the positives of getting people active. There's a bit of strength. There's a strength component to it. There's a conditioning. There is
Fun aspect.
it's just it is a positive. I think it brings people together, and it's like yeah, there is. I wonder where it will go over the next couple of years because now it's so new and it's like become this kind of competition. But at some point, that might get a bit boring because now it's like this is the only 8 stations we're doing. You're going to train for this basically 8 things versus when it started, it was nearly kind of random. But that was also the way CrossFit started. CrossFit was like basically random workouts, and then it became more of an actual
Structure.
sport. So I'd be interested. I would think that they're going to have to change it maybe like yearly or something to have like a. But then you need like if they want to have like world champions and things like that, you can't be a world champion at random stuff. But maybe if it's like
rounds.
each year is kind of different or something where they change something and then in it or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. I think people will
It's
just.
gonna. What's that?
I was just saying. I think people will just keep trying to improve on their time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. There's a lot of room for it. I'm trying to think of any other like negative with it. I'm like
Negative bias, Matt.
the only thing that I think of as well is I think a lot of people will try it and probably come back around into their normal like strength training or whatever it is, you know. So it mightn't it might be a thing that people long term stick to. Who knows? That's where I think they'll have to do something that kind of like make people stick around with it, you know. So we're gonna have to do another episode on the rest of the trends because we talk too much about things. But we have to finish with a random question, which is, what do you wish you understood better? I know mine, and it's Spanish.
I was going to go deeper.
I was going to go deeper too. I was like, "Ooh, that's a tough question." We want to keep it easy.
Go deep. That's
the meaning of life.
That was the first thing that came up for me.
Yeah, the deep.
But yeah, yeah, we were. If you came off the back of the Ozempic talk, there we were getting deep-rooted emotions. You have to answer it though.
Yeah. No.
Say
everybody's in deep thought.
Portuguese. I'm just going to copy Matt and say Portuguese.
I knew I shouldn't have said it because I knew one of you would just go with like languages then, and not. I influenced you.
I need to learn.
I'm going to switch around and say I want to understand myself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of that one as well, but
Eve.
It's still a fence sitter, I think.
But isn't it also fun to continue to learn? No, it's a process.
Right, I gotta go.
Okay.
Right.
Ciao.
Guys, thank you for joining us today. Longer than expected, but that's to be expected at this stage. There's lots of other trends I want to go over, which we will get to at some time. Right, guys, thank you for joining us. We will.
Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you found value in today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review and share it with someone who could benefit. Every single review or share helps us grow the show and will allow us to keep bringing you more great content. Stay tuned for weekly episodes where we'll be sharing more tips and insights to help you take your health, fitness and mindset to the next level. Thanks again for joining us, and remember, consistency beats perfection. See you in the next episode.